Hello, and welcome to a new edition of True Audio Files. My name is Jim Carter. So, today we're going to talk about the biggest mistakes that you can make when crate digging. Many of these I've made myself, unfortunately, so that's probably why I know it. But I think, and I'm sure that if you've done a lot of crate digging, you've probably made a lot of these mistakes also, so you'll probably be able to relate to some of my woes that I might tell here. But, this is for people who maybe are relatively new at crate digging and really don't have a lot of experience with it, or maybe you're experienced with it and you have not even thought about some of these things yet. So let's see where we're at. Number one, had this happen to me once, and that's verify the record that's inside of the jacket. I bought a record from a thrift store. I can't remember exactly what it was. It may have been like a Sammy Davis Jr. record. It was like $1, so it wasn't a big deal. But I actually think I did, which one of the next number 2 on this list that's coming up, but I never checked the label to see what it was, and it was definitely not a Sammy Davis Jr. record. Luckily, it wasn't something that I spent, $10, $20, $30 or more on. But now that I've had that experience, I probably won't do that on something I'm spending $10, $20, $30 on. So, but speaking of number 2, like I said on the list, this is something I definitely do all the time, and that's check the condition of the record, or not. A big mistake would be not to check the condition of the record under a good light, and under a good light is key, because a lot of these places you go, record stores, thrift shops, wherever you get, flea markets, wherever you get your records, they all tend not to have very good lighting. So, one thing you could do is maybe use your cell phone's light. Sometimes you can bring your own flashlight. One of the things that I've been starting to do now that I'm getting old, is bring my glasses with me so I can have a really good look at the condition and check for any kind of weird anomalies that are on the record themselves. But that's key, especially if you're picky about how the sound is going to be on that record. So, number 3, not checking the value of a record on something like a Discogs or an eBay, especially if something's $30, $40, $50 or more. You're gonna want to probably do a little bit of quick research. I always have Discogs readily available. That's typically the only place I tend to look. And when I check on Discogs, I not only check kind of like, they list kind of the lowest price it's ever sold for and the highest price it's ever sold for, but it also then has a median price. But I also then go in and check to see how much they're going for today. So you'll check the link where it says for sale, and check the copies that are going for sale and see what the lowest price is, and most importantly, check the condition of those lowest priced ones, and then check what the ones that are probably close to the condition that you are looking at. So in other words, let's say you're looking at, I don't know, the Beatles' White Album, a US copy. This is actually part of my foreshadowing for step 3, but you're taking a look at it, and you take a look and you determine that it's probably in very good plus, VG plus, and so is the jacket. Try to find what the cheapest very good plus record is going for on Discogs right now. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's going for, but I would say that I would never, hardly ever anyways, pay more than what the cheapest price is on Discogs for something of equal quality. So there are some rare exceptions, especially if I know the person well, and I know that I can really count on the condition that it's going to sound as good as it looks. I suppose if you can have that ability to listen to it at the store, you should as well, but I tend not to, just because I don't always have that kind of time to do that. So, and a lot of the places I get them from will allow me to do an exchange or return within a few days if there's an issue anyway. So, number 3. Actually, that was number 3, wasn't it? All right. So we're now, actually, part of number 3 that I didn't really go into detail about. Verify the dead wax. and markings on the jacket too. So dead wax being, you know, the part of the vinyl that's between the last song and the label. There's always writing in there, or almost always. Verify that information, because a lot of times in Discogs you'll see that information, so you can make sure that you're checking on the right and the most specific pressing in Discogs or on eBay. Also, markings on jackets, like I've noticed, especially on just as an example, one that happened recently, Charles Mingus Aham. There was a number on the bottom right hand corner of the back of the jacket that was like a 2 or a 3 or a 1. Hadn't noticed that before, but I looked in the notes section on the Discogs listing, and it mentioned those, so it helped me out. But also make sure of, when you're checking on Discogs, check to see if there are any inserts that are supposed to be included with it, because that can definitely affect the value. And maybe for you it affects the value even more if that's the kind of stuff that you truly want. One prime example, for any of you Kiss fans are out there, the Kiss solo albums, they came with a poster, and almost none of the used records versions that you find out there have the poster anymore. So that's a huge example that you typically see, where they may not have the posters or the inner sleeve that had more pictures or lyrics on it or things on that nature, or bonus 7-inch singles. Like I know Stevie Wonder albums, there was a Stevie Wonder album that had a 7-inch single that came with it as well. So things like that, check for that kind of stuff. And then country of origin too, because that can make a huge difference. It's something that I've definitely mentioned and talked about here before, but prime example is stuff from like Black Sabbath. The early UK pressings are going to be much more valuable than a US pressing, because they sound better. Or Jimi Hendrix, actually a lot of the early UK stuff for his albums tended to sound better also, so over the US pressings. So that's something that you want to make sure you're checking the country of origin. And sometimes like the German pressing and the UK pressing have the same look and jacket to them and label and things like that, but there will be different pressings, obviously, but maybe slight bit different masterings and different master tapes that were used, so the sound quality will be different. I know different covers, but Jimi Hendrix Electric Ladyland, I have a UK and a German, both of which were made close to the same time frame, although I think the German one may have actually been earlier. It's a different cover, but regardless, the UK pressing definitely sounded better. And German pressings are usually pretty good, so you can't always judge by that. So anyway, kind of rambling on about that one. Let's go to number 4. And number 4 is one that I have done way too often, and I can't tell you, I probably have at least half a dozen records that I didn't check this, and that is not checking for warps or dishing. Now, one of the mistakes, and it really wasn't a mistake per se, was I had this on a Bob Dylan Nashville Skyline, but that one was sealed, so I couldn't really tell until I opened it, and it was really badly warped. But I often don't check for warping, and I really need to, because like I said, I have been burned about, I don't know, half a dozen times, where I've purchased the record, I looked at the condition in terms of scratches and cleanness of the vinyl and the label and all that kind of stuff in the dead wax, but never really truly checked the condition of the record from a warp or dish standpoint. So that can be something that is really important, and sometimes there can be an extreme one that's sometimes hard to pick up unless you maybe lay it flat on a surface or something and look at it that way. So something that is probably my biggest mistake that I make frequently, just because a lot of times I'm usually rushing through a store because I only have a few minutes to kind of look around and get stuff, and I don't always check on the condition of the warping or the dishing. So something that you definitely want to check on. One thing that you may or may not run into, I'm starting to run into it just because I have such a large collection of records, that sometimes I will do this one, and that is not check to see if you already own the record. Um, Fortunately and unfortunately, I do have a lot of my record collection on Discogs, but unfortunately, a lot of it isn't on Discogs either. But sometimes when I am not 100% certain I have a record, I will check my Discogs collection, and I have actually come across once, or twice actually, 2 or 3 times now that I think about it, where I didn't think I had that version of the record, and I went into my Discogs catalog, and sure enough, I actually had it. So I saved myself quite a bit of money because a couple of those records that I was looking at were in the like 60 to 100 to $120 range. And luckily I checked and made sure I had them. I was surprised about one of them specifically. So a Metallica Ride the Lightning original press from Megaforce. I didn't think I had it. And then I looked it up in my Discogs, and sure enough, I did. And I was stunned because I didn't think I did. So I guess it's my old age and me getting senile and forgetting about what I've already purchased. So, but check your inventory if you can, just to make sure. One of the things that I will do is I will buy record that I may already own, especially if the condition is kind of questionable on the one that I already have, just to try to get a better version of it. One prime example that I've talked about in the past here is an early pressing of Boston's first record. I think I have 2 or 3 white label promos and another 2 or 3 just early pressings with the Wally in the dead wax, which is the best sounding version of the early U.S. pressing. So I have still yet to find one that I am happy with when it comes to the surface noise. So sound quality from an EQ perspective and a lot of other things, it sounds amazing, but still trying to find that elusive, quiet copy of that. So, last, and this one's probably something that you may or may not be able to do. You kind of have to judge where you are. I have found that in obviously like flea markets and maybe antique stores and places like that, you may be able to do this. But the biggest mistake you can have is the number 6 would be not trying to negotiate a better price. And this especially holds true if you have a big bunch of records and because a lot of times if you're buying 15, 20, 30 records or more, there's a good chance that if you can at least talk to the owner or manager of the store that you're in, or the flea market or whatever, you can probably negotiate a better price. It's not always going to be the case, but a lot of times it is, and you might be able to save yourself 10 or 20%. I'm not afraid if I'm not familiar with the place and I have a large collection of stuff I'm going to buy, like I said, 15, 20, 30 records, and and it's going to be a few $100s maybe. I'm not afraid to ask for a discount, and I'm not afraid to ask for at least 20%, because I found a lot of them will go close to that. Maybe not all of them will, but I found that you'll at least be able to get a better price. And hey, if you're spending $200-300, another $20, $30, $60 is always a good thing to be able to save if you can. So, but that is my list. So to kind of recap real quick, the biggest mistakes you can make while crate digging, not verifying the record matches the jacket that it's in. Not checking, number 2, not checking the condition of the record under a good light and maybe with some glasses. On valuable records, not checking in Discogs or eBay to see what they're kind of selling for right now, and especially going back and checking the dead wax markings on jackets, inserts, country of origin, that kind of stuff. Number 4, not checking for warps or dishes. My biggest one that I make often, unfortunately. Not checking if you already own the record, if you can do that, especially if you have a large collection like I do. And then finally, number 6, again, not trying to negotiate a better price on your purchase, especially on large purchases. So that's what I've got for you. I would love to hear your take to see if there are any other big mistakes that you've made or that you've seen other people make. please leave them down in the comments section below. I would love to hear them from you. If you liked what you see here, please like the video. If you want to see more of what I do, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be alerted every time I come out with a new video, please hit that alert button. Thank you very much, and you have a great day.